Hello, welcome. If you click this video, it's probably because your growls sound like when you want them to sound like. Growls follow the same three fundamentals that almost every EDM sound follows: good wavetables, good modulation, and good filtering. After this video, you're going to be able to make a whole array of really dope sounds just following these steps. Let's start with good wavetables. We start with FM splat and PWM inception. For LFOs, we're going to create three. We're going to create a ramp, put it on trigger, put it on 1/2. We're going to make this really cool shape. Hold Alt if you want to be exact. We're going to go down here, click this, put it right in the center, and curve these up just like this. Let's go ahead and throw this on 1/2 and trigger as well. For the third LFO, we're just going to bring the bars up to the center and bring this over here, bring this down to 2 bars and throw it on trigger. I'll show you why later. Next, for the oscillators, we're going to bring up unison on both to 16 because we like huge sound. If this kills your CPU, get a better CPU. I'm just kidding, you can bring it down to 8. Next, we're going to go on global and mess with the parameters. I'm going to bring this down to 1 just because I like how it sounds. We're going to bring the width down to 50, but you can put this at whatever you like. Now mode affects how the unison works together. Since we're going to be turning random off on both of these, all of the phases are going to be playing at the same exact time. That's awful. Let's go ahead and put this on exponential and change where the phases play by small amounts. Dope. Let's move on to the modulation. With oscillator A, we mess with the wavetable position, and then put LFO 1 on it for just a small amount, so that we just get a tiny bit of change for each wobble over time. Let's go ahead and create that wobble right now by going ahead and putting on LFO 2 on the level and bringing it across to bring a cool volume shape in. The second thing we're going to do is just kill this one because we're going to FM it to 49% on oscillator A. Yum. The octave also goes up too. Let's go ahead and filter it with a low pass 24, turn the resonance off, put this on 32 Hz, and use our LFO2 to modulate it up 50. That's it. That's it for the front page. Let's go ahead and go into the effects. So I'm actually going to be showing you the effects in a different order than we're going to be putting them in, and I'll show you why in a bit. Let's go ahead and start by putting on our asymmetrical distortion. Something I like to do is high pass it, put this on 900 Hz, and bring this down as much as I can to 0.1 while leaving a little bit left. The drive is up to you, but for this one I like to use about 60%. Next, we're going to bring compressor and EQ up and get rid of the flanger, but I'm going to just put the compressor on right now. Let's go ahead and put it on multiband, bring this up to 138%, bring the threshold down to about 16.9 in the negative, and then let's turn down the ratio down, although I don't think that affects the sound very much. Next, we're going to do our standard standing phaser. Well, bam. And this just tones back some of the resonances of the growl. After this, we're going to do the 3 things that I feel shapes the sound the most. We're going to put a reverb filter. Now, if you notice, a reverb filter very much changes up the sound. Just look at how many frequencies this changes. What the heck? Let's make a sick roller coaster. Because of this, we're going to double click and type a very, very specific value. If this doesn't happen when you double click, it's because you need to go into global and click double click for typable values on controls. The resonance controls how much of the reverb effect we're getting, so we're going to go ahead and put it on a very nice number. After that, we're going to just go ahead and crank up the drive to about 9%, and then put our LFO on for -10 on the cutoff. Now, the cutoff changes the sound quite a bit, so we're only going to put a little bit, which is -10. And this is going to bring back a lot of our low and mid-range frequencies. The next thing that we're going to do to change up the sound is double down on our growl frequencies. by using the EQ as a filter. To do this, we're going to go ahead and put the first frequency on about 70. We're going to go ahead and turn these into peaks, and we're going to go ahead and increase the first one up 8 decibels, creating a little nice bump. We're then going to modulate the frequency to go up about, let's say, a nice round number like 30. Then we're going to go ahead and do the same thing to the other side, but instead bring it down about -16. I like to have an exaggerated effect. This knob I feel is already in a good position for this specific growl, but you might want to change these positions a little bit in the future for different sounds. Let's go ahead and give it a listen. Great. Anytime you want to mix up a sound and add more growly depth to it, I would recommend using this EQ as a filter in this way. If you notice on Virtual Riot's videos, whenever he puts on a high pass filter on top, he essentially has the same exact thing happening. Sometimes he uses a peak on this side, which is a great thing to experiment with. The last thing we're going to do to mix up the sound is add a hyperdimension and do something I love to do, which is to turn the unison down, turn on retrigger, and go ahead and put our LFO2 on to mix up the wet at about 50. I turn off the rate and put detune on about 20, and then use my ramp LFO to just bring it up about maybe -12. Now you're probably wondering what this last LFO is. I love to take my growls and modulate going into matrix, putting on my LFO3, putting on the global, and just putting a little bit of tuning. This makes a great way for you to mix up your sound and do some cool things with it. Now that the sound is done, I'd love to show you guys one of my most simple processing chains to make the sound better, and that is to put an OTT on, bring the depth down to about 20%, and then throw on a kilohertz distortion where the drive is just down to about 3 decibels. You can also turn the dynamics up. Adds a nice little bit of crunch, and you can, of course, EQ as you see fit. I used this patch to make a whole array of really cool sounds. Let's go ahead and check some of them out. I did this change by just messing with the reverb filter and taking off the modulation. This sound I made by just messing with the oscillator B wavetable. I call this patch the patch that keeps on giving, because the more I play with it, the more cool sounds I find out of it. That's going to wrap up this video. If you enjoyed this sound and would like the presets and all the variations, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It's only $3 and you get all of the tutorial presets I make, all of their variations, and all the cool sounds you don't see behind the scenes. Other than that, you can also support me by liking this video and subscribing me, as it really helps me out. If you have any feedback, a comment, or would love to send me something of yours to break down on my channel in front of my audience, feel free to message me at hakobamusic@gmail.com. Other than that, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you have a great day.